But let's get up and get our acceleration with this. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2022 Range Rover Evoque. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover here in downtown Salt Lake for giving me some time with this Evoque. Check out the inventory in the description down below. This one is available for sale right now if you're interested. And then on a side note, I just released my car buying guide, so if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to that in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. So there are two different powertrains available for the Evoque. Both of them go through a 9-speed automatic transmission. The first one is a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder. It's good for 246 horsepower and then 269 pound-feet of torque. And then the second powertrain is also a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder, but it's paired to a mild hybrid system and puts out 296 horsepower and then 295 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the Evoque. First off, I love the color on this particular one. You guys can see it's just absolutely gorgeous. Now you've got the accenting here on either side of the hood, and then notice that the middle portion is raised and it's just pretty flat overall. Got the Range Rover logo, the Land Rover logo down below. LED accent lights, you guys can see the headlights in normal Range Rover fashion. And then notice the black accent in here just down below. Parking sensors here on the front. Notice we got our R Dynamic badge, and then notice everything's pretty much blacked out from a front end perspective with all of the accent pieces, and there's the front end. Coming around the side here, we've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see the wheels are also all blacked out, which I think looks really cool. I love the design on them. It's definitely unique. And then notice how that blacked out piece continues all along the side and then there on the bottom as well. And then you've got another blacked out element right here. Notice the mirrors are blacked out and then the entire roof is blacked out. We have the pop-out door handles just like you have on the Velar, which definitely gives it a unique appearance. And then here's your full side view. You can see that the fender there in the rear kind of pops out a little bit and really looks like a, from the side here at least, like a mini Range Rover Sport. So here's our key fob. We have our unlock lock. We've got the button for the light, and then we have this to open up the rear hatch. And once that has been popped open, you guys can see first off, we've got the spare tire just underneath. And then you guys can see here for the little 12-volt charging port. And overall storage space back here is great. Also, we have the cargo cover here and the back as well, and then the little metallic plaques. And when you're all done, you just got to press this button up here and it'll close that right up, and it's actually very quick with the operation. Now, this has the cool 3D taillights, so you guys can, well, let me move a little bit so you can see that. Looks really good. And then notice that the center portion is blacked out. Again, another Range Rover logo. Got our Evoque badge right there. Parking sensors here on the rear, and then it's blacked out. And you guys will notice that the exhaust tip is not obvious. It is poking out right there. But they kind of hide it for the most part to clean up the design here in the rear. Now here's the door panel in the back. You guys can see the padding here at the top and the metallic trim down below. It goes to the door handle, and then there's more padding here on the side. Got the Meridian sound system, a few speakers for that. And then you can see here with the seats themselves, got this nice leather, perforated leather here in the center with the stitching that goes all down the center portion. And popping in, ooh, there's legroom. You guys can see headroom as well. Got a couple vents down there. Notice it says Evoque. Again, little charging port down below that. And then of course, we got the armrest cup holder situation, very important. Let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel at the front. You guys can see all of the padding all over. Window controls it here with the mirror adjustments. And then here's a quick look at the mirrors themselves. And then more speakers for that Meridian sound system. And then here are the front seats. So you can see again with the leather, perforated leather here down the center, power adjustments there on the side. And then we have our R Dynamic badge right there, and then you can see the pedals down below. We've got the opening for the hatch, parking brake as well, and then the hood release right there. And, well, there's where we'll look before we pop in. Now here's a quick look at the steering wheel. We've got the leather trim all around, and then you can see the perfect leather here in the center. Got our controls for the cruise control, heated steering wheel, and then notice Range Rover logo, and then all the controls here for like the center stack, voice command controls. Really nice paddles here on the back of the steering wheel. Turn signal, light stock. Got our windshield wiper stock on the other side, and there's the steering wheel. Now here is the center gauge cluster. It's fully digital, and as you guys can see, you can scroll through a few different menus, see different bits of information here on like the vehicle, media, all that kind of stuff, you know, the usual. And well, that's all for that. So we have the infotainment system here, which we'll show the camera first. So popping it into reverse, you got the backup camera with trajectory lines that do turn with the steering wheel. Then you guys can see the different viewpoints with that. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time with the screen is great. Notice we have our low traction launch. That's something I love about Range Rovers. And as you can see, very easy to use the screen overall. And it does pop out when you turn the vehicle on, so you guys can see it can like lay down into that area. So when the vehicle's off, it's down, which is kind of cool because then it's flush with the rest of the dash. Now we have our secondary screen in normal Range Rover fashion. So first off, we push, we can do the seats, which no cooled function, but does have heated function, so definitely a plus there. And then obviously dual zone climate, and notice you can go to the seat heat with that. Got our vehicle tab over here, which lets you go through different drive modes. So you've got the eco, comfort, grass, gravel, snow, mud, ruts, and then sand. And then we have our auto program that you can pop it into. Notice we have off-road cruise control as well. And then you can see the controls in here for like the hill descent control, stability control, and that's all for that section. Here's the shifter for that 9-speed automatic. It does have a manual shift function. Wood trim all around. Got a couple cup holders here. And then you can see the center console with some USBs, all that fun stuff. And notice how it's like two different things. And then more padding here on the dash, and then the wood trim there at the very top. And then right here looks good. It doesn't necessarily feel the nicest, but you're not gonna touch that, so who cares? Glove box, pretty normal setup. And then popping here up to the top, you can see we've got the panoramic sunroof, and then we've got the sunglass holder, controls for the sunroof, and then we have the camera mirror. Definitely a big plus. Now, if you want the most up-to-date pricing on this particular Evoque, check out the Land Rover and Salt Lake's inventory in the description down below. Let's take this out and see how it drives. Well, let's go over visibility before we set off. There's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's go. So, setting off in the Evoque. First off, let's talk about the road noise and the ride quality. And I actually just drove a Jaguar XF right before this. And so it's interesting for me to mentally compare the two, even though they're not competitors whatsoever, right? Just interesting. So first off, the Evoque is kind of like a smaller size SUV, and it does have that feel to it. It does feel more substantial than other SUVs that are like this size. So you do have that going for it. But in normal smaller SUV fashion, right, it's not as smooth as a larger SUV. So like a full-size Range Rover, for example, rides significantly smoother compared to this. But overall, you know, as a daily luxury SUV, it does a pretty good job with soaking things up and just being comfortable. Seat comfort's great as well. There's a lot of cushion to these seats. They're soft too. And so just great from a daily driver perspective with all of that. And so yeah, I mean, just initially setting off in this thing, it's great. And I already talked about visibility earlier, but that's one thing I like about Range Rovers is they have really good visibility. Even though the roof line makes it look like it's not gonna have great visibility and it's gonna be like a cave, doesn't feel that way actually. So taking a turn here, yeah, it definitely has that lightweight zippy feel. I'm gonna pop it into the S mode, and I'll press the paddle, so now it's in the manual mode. S mode's kind of going to be like your sport mode in this, since there's not a dynamic program. Brakes are good too. Love the feeling of the paddles. They have this nice metallic feel to them, so it definitely makes it feel more upscale, right? When you're pressing the paddle versus most cars on the market that'll just have little plastic paddles, basically. But let's get up and get our acceleration with this. It's actually decently quick. It's decently quick for a little SUV. That's impressive. Gonna pop it out of the S mode back into just drive. And yeah, so I guess that we will get into summing things up here with the Evoque. So first off, from an exterior aesthetics perspective, it's kind of mixed, right? Range Rover's proportions look best on like the full size or the Sport, in my personal opinion, or the Velar as well. This is like, it still has like all the Range Rover elements, but it's in like a smaller size, and it still looks good, but it doesn't look as good as the other vehicles, right? In a vacuum though, if you just see this on the road, I think it's a pretty good looking vehicle. Interior wise, again, as being like, you know, the baby Range Rover, the entry-level Range Rover, man, they must be doing a drug bust with that Mercedes or something. Anyways, because I drove by like 20 minutes ago, and that thing's still sitting there, and now it's like all opened up and cops are in it. Downtown Salt Lake. But yeah, it's nice for an entry-level Range Rover. And then from a driving perspective, it doesn't drive as smooth as like the larger Range Rovers, but it's still, for like a, you know, smaller sized luxury SUV, I think it does a really good job. I will say that. And then, you know, from acceleration and all that kind of stuff, again, it's, you know, it's decent with the powertrain. It's cool you have the two different options to choose from. So if you're looking for like a smaller sized luxury SUV, the Evoque is pretty well rounded. I would say that. It gets good fuel economy, and it's got decent acceleration. It looks good. Interior's nice, seats are comfortable, so it's got all the right stuff going for it. Now that's going to sum things up for our video on this 2022 Range Rover Evoque. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover here in downtown Salt Lake for giving me some time with the Evoque. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see you guys.